Welcome to The Explainer. You know how we do it here. We take some really interesting source material and break it all down for you.
So today, we are diving into a document called Scriptural Harmony and the Divine Revelation of Truth. And listen, it makes a pretty bold claim right off the bat, that the Qur'an supports the Bible. Yeah, you heard that right. And that one single idea, that's the core argument we're going to unpack.
Now, what's fascinating is how the source builds this huge case. It all comes down to a really close reading of just 2 verses from the Qur'an. That's it. So to really get what they're saying, we've got to see exactly how they're interpreting these passages. All right, let's jump right in and follow the logic.
Okay, first up, the first piece of evidence the source points to is from the 28th chapter of the Qur'an, Al-Qasas. The argument here is that this verse lays out a very specific mission for the Prophet Muhammad. Think of it as his foundational job description, the responsibilities that really define his entire purpose.
And this idea of a divine mandate is absolutely key to understanding the argument. We're not talking about just some friendly advice here. No, according to this interpretation, these are direct, non-negotiable instructions from God. They're the ground rules, the absolute foundation for all of the prophet's work.
So if you break down this verse from Al-Qasas, it really gives you 4 clear commands. It kicks off with one positive action: invite people to your Lord. Simple enough, but then it's followed by 3 really crucial don'ts. First, don't assist disbelievers. Second, never let yourself be turned away from Allah's verses. And third, never ever associate others with the law. You put those 4 things together, and you've got a super clear and firm foundation.
All right, so that's verse number 1. Now let's pivot to the second verse, which comes from the 42nd chapter, Ash-Shura. And this is where the source really lays out the heart of its argument. It presents this passage as a kind of framework, a how-to guide for engaging with other faith communities.
So this verse starts by setting up some rules for personal conduct, right, for the believer. It says you've got to stay on the right path, don't get sidetracked by what other people want or think. And then, and this is so critical for the source's whole argument, it says you have to believe in all revealed scripture, not just your own. And on top of all that, there's this universal command. You have to be just and fair with everyone.
And right here, the verse introduces this really powerful idea. It's this principle of mutual accountability, but with a twist. It's separate. It's basically saying, hey, we have our path and you have yours. The focus isn't on judging what the other person is doing. It's about recognizing that each community is responsible for its own actions and will be judged on its own terms.
So here's the logical leap, right? If you accept that each group is responsible for its own stuff, then what happens to all the arguments? Well, the need for them just dissolves. The verse says it flat out. There's no need for argument between us. And that's a huge shift, isn't it? It's moving away from confrontation and toward a kind of mutual respect for different spiritual paths.
And this idea, this moving beyond argument, it leads us straight to the one statement that is the bedrock of this whole claim about harmony. This is it, the ultimate declaration of common ground. This right here, this is the pivot point for the entire analysis. The source zooms in on this one line as the great unifier. It's a straight-up declaration that both communities, followers of the Qur'an and followers of the earlier scriptures, are worshiping the same God. It cuts right through all the labels and points to one single, shared divine source.
And it doesn't stop there. To really hammer home this idea of common ground, the verse ends by pointing to a shared future. So it's not just saying, hey, we started from the same place with one Lord. It's also saying we're all heading to the same final destination. This idea really minimizes those divisions, you know? It frames everything as just different paths, all leading to the exact same place.
Okay, so we've walked through the 2 key verses, but what's the big picture here? What's the takeaway when you see how the source stitches them together? I mean, what does this framework really mean for how different faiths can understand each other?
Well, when you combine the key ideas from both verses, like the source does, you get this really clear 5-step model for how to engage. Step 1, acknowledge you have the same Lord. 2, affirm belief in all the scriptures. 3, always uphold justice. Then it gets personal. 4, accept that everyone's accountable for their own actions. And because of that, number 5, move beyond pointless arguments and focus on that shared destiny we talked about.
And really, that's the big question this whole interpretation leaves us with. The source is essentially trying to build a bridge, right? A bridge made out of what it sees as these foundational shared principles. And it kind of leaves us to chew on this question. What would actually happen if dialogue stopped focusing on all the differences and instead started from a place of profound shared connection?